Hi, this is your host, Dan Stafford, with the Midwestern Geek in Cali videocast, and I am videocasting from 42 Tardis Way here in lovely Temecula, California, summer's winter home. And this evening, you're probably going to get a little bit of glare off my glasses because I'm doing a screen recording, and I'm doing this for the purposes of showing how Tweetdeck can be used to really amp up the use of Twitter. TweetDeck is a pretty amazing tool for Twitter. It makes Twitter much more powerful, and interestingly enough, it can actually be used as a way of keeping up with the news on ongoing disasters, urgent situations, and even operating a home-based logistics support for disaster recovery in a post-disaster situation. And I kind of found this out by accident one night several years ago. There was flooding in Queensland, Australia, and I had a friend who lived in the area, and I wasn't really sure how things were going down there, but I was kind of concerned, and I spent some time on a very quiet late night at probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when nothing was happening, and actually was able to use it to help relay messages on different hashtags on Twitter to help hook people up needing supplies with people who were offering those same type of supplies for things like generators, and like gasoline powered emergency generators, portables, shovels, sandbags, all kinds of things along those lines. So what I'm going to do is show you guys around a little bit on TweetDeck and what it can really do with Twitter. Now, as you can see, I've got 4 default columns here on TweetDeck. If you remember TweetDeck going back a ways, it actually started off as its own app for Twitter. And it was good enough that Twitter actually bought them out and took it on their own. If you notice up here in the address bar of the web browser I'm at, tweetdeck.twitter.com, you can also just go to tweetdeck.com and it'll work as long as you're already logged into your Twitter account with the current browser that you're on. So, and a quick pointer here. Notice that tweetdeck.twitter.com address, that is a subdomain of twitter.com. You can tell because twitter.com is the last thing in the address. If I were to turn that around and it said twitter.tweetdeck.com, that would actually be a domain that was owned by tweetdeck.com, not Twitter. Just pointing that out. That's true for other things, including fake news sites. A lot of times you'll see something that says abcnews.getout.com, or, I'm just pointing out examples, and it actually doesn't belong to ABC News. It actually belongs to getout.com. So look at the address when you're looking at things, and double check that it actually belongs to the site that you're trying to follow, and not some fake knockoff of the site that you're really trying to follow. But anyways, side note there. And let's get into this a little bit. So right now I have an additional custom column in TweetDeck, Midwestern, hashtag Midwestern Geek in Cali over here to the far right. And I added that hashtag earlier, and I left it up here because I wanted to show you how to get rid of a custom search column on TweetDeck if you're no longer wanting to follow that. And for right now, we don't need to follow what I'm doing on Twitter. We need to follow something else. So let's click over here. You see these two little things in the upper right corner that look kind of like blue sliders or something. I'm not sure exactly, or a couple of blue dots over lines, like maybe whole notes in music, kind of similar to that. Click there and it'll bring up some options when it decides to follow my click here. And there we go. Down at the bottom, we can do remove. You can also kind of clear all the tweets or share it on social media, etc. But right now, we just want to remove the column, and that column is gone. Now, how do I add columns here on TweetDeck? Well, I'm going to go over here to the left, and if you look, this little search icon, the magnifying glass, like your Sherlock Holmes with a magnifying glass following a trail, click on search, and once it comes up, let's add a hashtag in here. Actually, little more current. All right, we see Madison flood is a hashtag that's already in use. It came up as soon as I did Madison. This is referring to Madison, Wisconsin, which is undergoing some severe flooding right now due to heavy rains. So let's add this column. And once I click on it, you'll see that Madison flood is now an added column over here to the right. And we're going to see all kinds of tweets that are coming up, and anything new that comes up will pop in here in real time on TweetDeck in that column. So let's add a couple more columns that might have to do with Madison flood. Let's go with Madison and just do that. And let's maybe add Madison, Wisconsin. And then let's try Dane County. And you're seeing now we have 4 columns up on 4 different hashtags related to Madison. The first one is Madison flood. Let's take a look. And let's see, this was 13 minutes ago. Okay. Now I'm able to find a lot of stories of people, like here we got Amanda M.M. Hall, and she's talking about, she's tweeting at Cali G from NBC 15 News, saying jumping in and lending a hand with sandbagging efforts in Monona today. Usually I'm talking with her in an alder capacity. It was fun to connect with as fellow Madisonians. Now, I went to high school and a couple of years of grade school in Madison, Wisconsin, so I know quite a few folks up there. I have a lot of friends online up there, and I've been hearing a little bit about the flooding. And it's, kind of late at night right now in Madison. It's about 12:14 a.m. there. So we're probably not going to get an awful lot of fresh traffic on this right now. People in Madison are probably in bed, and you're going to see all kinds of stuff on here. But if this were really hot and heavy during the day, you would be seeing all kinds of stuff coming up here on these. And let's see, Dane County flood. Kendrick Labs here talking about flood damage exceeds 100 million in Dane County. New map shows potential threat to Isthmus. Isthmus in Madison is actually where downtown Madison is and the state capital of Wisconsin. Capitol Square is there. There's 2 lakes, one north and one south of downtown Madison, fairly large lakes. multiple square miles in size, and downtown Madison is built on an isthmus that is between Lake Mendota and Lake Monona. Mendota to the north, Monona to the south. And let's see, City of Madison releases map identifying high-risk flood areas, Wisconsin, and it's also in the Madison flood hashtag. Let's take a look and see what this looks like here. You may not see that because I'm only doing current tab. So it's pulling up the map that City of Madison is talking about. This might have been better if I had done full desktop on that, but it's showing areas at high risk of flooding in downtown Madison. So I'm going to go ahead and close that and get back over to Twitter. But as you can see, if you scroll through, you're going to be able to find a lot of current news stories. Now, usually with these columns, there's a scroll bar far to the right. You see here how I can move up and down the column and look at tweets going back a ways. The far one on the right, the Dane County flood hashtag, there's only these few tweets using that hashtag, so there's no scroll bar there. And you'll notice that one was 2 days ago, one was 17 hours ago, one 15 hours ago, one 10 hours ago, and one 3 hours ago, and 3 of them were from Kendrick Labs Incorporated. So not many people using Dane County flood. So that column is not particularly useful in this situation, but the other 3 are probably going to be pretty relevant, all things considered. You'll find all kinds of news down here. So let's take a look at a different one going on. Notice these were within the last hour, some of them, and some of them are under an hour ago. So you can get really timely stuff on here. If it were earlier in the day, I would be seeing stuff coming up like crazy. So, okay, that's one way to take a look at news for Madison, Wisconsin flooding. Now let's take another look here at something different. I'm going to go ahead and remove these columns for Madison. And I'll maybe just leave the Madison flood column for right now in case we want to come back and take a peek in a little bit. And let's go over here to the search and let's do California wildfires. And let's search at Cal Fire. That's asking me if I want to follow. Not going to do that right now. Let's see if we can find some more that are related to the fires in California. And let's also add the car fire, which is one that I know is a really big one up northern California. Okay, and let's see, here's one from 5 minutes ago. Let's see, 229,651 acres burned, 359 square miles, 93 to 94% contained. Now, this fire's been going on for a while, so you're starting to see it contained. Um, and it looks like they shared this same post with the Cal Fire, Car Fire, and Shasta. And this is a retweet of a tweet from the Shasta County Sheriff's Department, and there's also the comments here, and then several other hashtags that are going on related to this. NorCal Fire is another hashtag, so we could add that one as well. And again, it's late at night, and this is a fire that's been going on for a while, and it's getting close to containment. But if you can imagine what these things were like during the day when these fires were at the height of their, you know, worst thing, or when they were first starting out, there was a lot of activity on these tags, and you would have been able to find pretty much up to the minute news on these. So let's go through and take a look and see. Here's one on using GPS to extinguish wildfires. Here's one about Verizon throttling the firefighters. Um, this article was actually one of three by The Verge, which is a tech news site, technology news. And what they're talking about in this case was the command and control center for the Shasta County Fire Department. I believe it was Shasta County. Used a mobile broadband connection through Verizon Wireless to get broadband for their command and control of the firefighting effort in the field. And they were on an unlimited plan through Verizon, quote unquote, unlimited. However, it was an unlimited plan that actually had throttling when you hit a certain data cap. So, unlimited in whose terms, I don't know, not truly unlimited for sure. And so basically, they reached their data limit and weren't aware of it. And all of a sudden, their internet was throttled down by Verizon. And it was to the point where it was less than a meg of bandwidth, which rendered it basically unusable. So they lost internet connectivity to the command and control vehicle, mobile command and control center for the firefighting effort. And that apparently that situation went on for almost a month. I was reading that there were firefighters who actually were using their personal mobile devices to get data into the command center, and Verizon refused to take the throttling off even after they found out it was a fire department in the middle of a fire emergency. They wouldn't take the throttling off until they upped their data plan to one that was double the price. Verizon came back and was blaming an employee error and such. And that's an ongoing story. You can follow that if you are interested. But you would have seen this coming out right as it was happening, most likely, if you'd been following this thread at the height of the fire. And There's plenty of news stories here. Um, you really have to kind of wade through and kind of separate the wheat from the chaff. And if I had an active disaster to follow somewhere in the world, it might actually be a little more interesting to show. Let me see if I can find an ongoing natural disaster. Right. Okay, they're talking about Hurricane Lane as it's hitting Hawaii. So let's take a look and let's see about Hawaii and Hurricane Lane and see what's going on there. It's much earlier in the day in Hawaii, so let's take a look and see what we can spot. And let's maybe take away the column from California wildfires. It seems to be a pretty quiet situation. Okay, and let's drop the Madison flood. There's not much going on there right now. And here we go. We can see there's one here from 21 seconds ago, one right now. Hurricane Lane downgraded to a tropical storm has arrived on Maui. Glad this guest finally arrived and is relatively well behaved. What a surreal week. Uh, Here's one just from 13 hours ago, retweet from 13 hours ago. Salvation Army serving survivors and first responders in Hawaii as Hurricane Lane continues to impact the islands. Give help today. All right. Apparently, this person is complaining that Hurricane Lane was a disappointment. Okay. Okay, so this is really toned down quite a bit. Here's one with the weather map from an hour ago. All right, so this is one talking about the beaches being crowded. Now that it's downgraded to a tropical storm. Uh, so there's a lot of up-to-the-minute news on what has become a lot less of a disaster than was originally expected, which is all good news. It's nice to find out that the hurricane has been downgraded, and here you go. One from 18 minutes ago. No traffic being allowed on the Singing Bridge in Hilo. Still heavy rain, so stay home. You can find warnings like this, current up to the minute, situations. Looks like a lot of celebration in Hawaii now that this has all been downgraded. Wind and waves picking up at the beach on Maui. Yeah, I bet. Tropical storms still a lot of rain and a lot of wind. Okay, notice when you scroll down too, you lose the real time. It doesn't update real time until you scroll back to the top when you're on here. Um, so let's see what we got here. Yeah, interesting, but not a lot going on with Hurricane Lane. So fairly quiet. And of course, you're going to get a lot of personal stories. But if things were really rocking and rolling out there, you would see a lot of stuff coming in, um, depending on the time of day, but just up to the minute kind of stuff. And this is probably not the greatest example because it's not really a disaster kind of situation, but can you imagine how these would have been rocking and rolling if we had been looking at Hurricane Harvey? Was it Harvey that hit Houston? Um, the hurricane that hit Houston, or um, you know, ongoing flooding, large scale flooding events like what happened in Queensland a few years ago. Or the fires when they were at their height. It just really a lot of stuff happens here, and you'll see a lot of it. And another thing that you can scan through is Um, for hashtags that may be related. So yeah, let's try Hawaii weather and we'll see what's up on that one too while we're at it. So as you can see, if I really went and wanted to go looking through here, I could find out quite a bit about what's actually going on out there. And yet I'm in Southern California. As you can see, things are coming in. All right, here's one talking about radio frequencies that they want people to keep off of because they're using them for emergency weather coordination and operations. Um, that was from 12 hours ago, but it was just retweeted. Yeah, you're going to find a lot of silly stuff on here too, but I really wanted to give you guys a tour of TweetDeck and what it can do. And if this were a major disaster ongoing, you would be seeing all kinds of news stories on here. And what's this? Now we have a brush fire in Oahu. Let's take a look at that. There's a brush fire, not enough rain yet to put it out. Wow. That was retweeted from an hour ago, though. Someone, you notice the 1 hour here, and then look over here at the green circle, and you're seeing that a lot of these are retweets. So from earlier news. All right, here's a tweet from the governor just now. Parks update, parks and trails remain closed until after the storm has passed and assessment made. Streams are flooding, trees are down, be careful. Okay, so yeah, people are pretty happy that this got downgraded, but it still sounds like kind of a pain. So ah, interesting. Humanity Road publishing reports on updates the status of power, gas, communication, shelter, health, and hospitals and animals. Interesting. All right, here's someone named Marcel Honore. Obviously, someone of some note, and tweeting at Mayor Kirk in Honolulu, probably. I think that's what the H&L is. Um, Emergency shelters will remain open until 12 p.m. Saturday. Shuttles will bus people home who sought shelter from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And it looks like we've had some more come in. I managed to expand that one. U.S. Navy photos of the day. Looks like this is about the busiest hashtag related to Hurricane Lane in Hawaii. So as you can see, TweetDeck can be a pretty powerful tool, and if this were really rocking and rolling, you would be seeing all kinds of stuff come in, but you would be able to actually, if something, say you saw someone over here on this hashtag actually requesting, supplies or something like that, and then someone on one of these other hashtags over here had the supplies, you would be able to very quickly connect those two people together by tweeting at both of them in both hashtags and saying, hey, this one's offering this, you're asking for this, you two need to talk. That's a way of actually doing, some logistic support for our people in disaster situations. And I really saw TweetDeck being used this way during the Queensland floodings. I was doing it. There was someone from the Netherlands assisting with that kind of work. Also, someone I want to say from Taiwan that was doing it at that time of day too. There were like 3 or 4 of us that were using it this way in order to connect people together for disaster relief logistic support. So, if you're a news organization, this tool can be pretty invaluable in a situation like this. You can find a lot of local news stories and really keep things up to date. So I would suggest if you're a small news organization, especially, and you've got an ongoing disaster in your local area or nearby, this would be an extremely good tool to use. And again, it's just tweetdeck.twitter.com. Be logged into your Twitter account in that browser before you go there, and you'll be able to just go with it. That was an interesting one. Let's see here. Ricky Arnold, Astro Ricky. I wonder if Ricky Arnold is an astronaut. Let's take a look. Ricky Arnold, astronaut from Space Transit STS-119, multiple other missions. STS-119 was one of the shuttle missions, and currently on board the space station. Okay. And here we go, Hurricane Lane in the early morning hours near Hawaii from 2 days ago. That's obviously a retweet. You can see I can drill into one of these individual tweets. Why would somebody put that in Hurricane L anyway? Yeah, politics. It's always fun. Look at these rainfall numbers. 39 inches, 32 inches, 29 inches, 25. Yeah. Wind gusts up to 107 miles an hour out on the ocean, and the forest 74 miles an hour with that many trees. That's still a pretty serious storm. Might be downgraded to a tropical storm, but it's still pretty heavy. There we go, flooding in downtown Honolulu. That's from a day ago. Let's go ahead and retweet that one. And maybe we'll retweet this one. And let's give that one a retweet as well. That's cute. Okay, so there you go. That's the scoop on how to use TweetDeck. I'm going to go ahead and drop um, the other columns here now, and we'll just leave the hurricane lane column going. That's really the active one anyway. All right. And there we go. And let's see if there's anything else of interest out there that we could take a peek at with this. As you can see, you can follow earthquakes on here pretty easily. Looks like there's some flooding going on in India. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and tone it down and wind this up. But I really wanted to show this. There's one friend of mine in particular, Charles McKee. I think that this is a tool that you could really use. And I would encourage you to give it a try. Play with it a little bit. As you can see, it can be pretty useful. And any of you other folk that are out there, if you hear about a disaster going on and you've got some time on your hands, this might be a good way to spend it to see if you can't kind of hook people up that need help with people that are offering help in situations like this. And if nothing else, at least stay up to the minute. If you have travel plans somewhere and you're, like people that were planning on traveling to Hawaii and you're interested in a storm situation like this, you can find out how things are going or how they went. Um, if you have friends in an area that's impacted by disasters like this, a lot of times tweets will get through a brief internet connection, and people have mobile phones everywhere, so you can maybe find a lot of news on here that's fairly current, or at least get a sense of the situation rather than just being totally in the dark and wondering. So, on that note, thank you all for spending the time with me, and you can find us at www.midwesterngeekandcali.com. Matter of fact, let me go there to the Midwestern Geek and Cali blog and show you guys around just a little bit. As you can see on the blog, I not only have YouTube videos up for all my episodes, some of my early audio only episodes are up. I still have some early episodes to add here. Um, Donation button if you're so inclined. I could use it to help get the audio podcast back on, amongst other things. Actually, maybe even get a little bit of volunteer help, or not necessarily volunteer, but maybe pay someone to help a little bit with, you know, stories and getting shows put together and things like that. I've got where you can, follow me on uh, Blogger, follow by email, subscribe to my RSS feed. If you're watching this on YouTube, all you need to do is subscribe to my channel. And while we're at it, I'll take you over and show you a peek at the Twitter account. Here we are at Midwest Geek Cali. By the way, you can get to the blog just by going to www.midwesterngeekandcali.com. Here we are at Midwest Geek Cali on Twitter, and I'll actually go to the profile page so you can see that real quick. Okay, that picture was actually taken at C2E2, I want to say 2013 in Chicago. And that is yours truly about to step into the TARDIS. So a lot of fun. And again, you can find us at www.midwesterngeekandcali.com. And also, there's a friend of mine, Charles McKee, who goes with me to most of the conventions that I go to. So let's show you his website real quick. Probably MidwesternNerdChick.com. That is my cousin Tanya, who is doing a podcast and YouTube channel, and she usually has some interesting stuff to say. But let's go to Charles' site. Okay, and as you can see, Charles keeps a lot of up-to-date local news, a lot of high school sports, local minor league sports, um, local crime reports. Uh, if you take a look across the top, there's a lot of interesting stuff: real estate, local business, tech tips, anime and cosplay, podcasts, local politics, and an archive site with older stories if you're looking for those. Note also the translator here too. You can actually translate the site into multiple other languages. I think there's somewhere on the order of 99 languages total that are possible with Google Translate. And let's put it in Spanish for a second. And there you go. The whole site's basically translated into Spanish. You can see all the links at the top have gone into Spanish. Now, if I translate it into Chinese, you're going to see some interesting characters, I think, in some places, maybe. And then, interesting that this one didn't translate. But as you can see, almost anyone in the world can read this website. And you notice here that the language drop down changed into other characters. If you get that, all you got to do is click on the British flag to bring it back into English. Might take a minute. My internet connection is pretty busy with recording this video. But there you go. Click on the British flag and everything's back in English. There you go. Some sites may be using the American flag for English as well. The British flag is default for English, and American flag has to be specially set as a custom flag. But again, iesportsnews.com, and please visit Charles' website and kind of check in on us here in SoCal and see how we're doing every now and then. I'm sure we'd all appreciate it. And again, thank you for your time. Happy Vulcan fingers to you from the Agent of 42. And may there never be a rogue wave in your coffee mug.